Big breath, everybody. Maybe close your eyes and look within and up to the spiritual eye and just enjoy this breath of God, pure, straight from the source. And just keep repeating till you really feel grateful and feel honored that God can be breathing you right now. That means presence is breathing you. That means joy is breathing you. That means light and love is breathing you. And you're receiving it straight, unfiltered, no intermediaries, just the divine beloved in you. As you relax, let go, God is you. In just this breath, in this moment, in my heart, with my beloved. One of the most important things that we need to practice is that God can only be experienced in this present moment, this one. And you cannot have your mind multitasking even on one other thing at the same time. So let's just reserve this breath in this moment, in my heart, with the one who is the one in all our hearts. The one, the most beautiful one. We are the most beautiful one. There's no separation between us. God is totally us. We are totally spirit divine. In just this breath, in this moment in my heart with my beloved, in just this breath, in this moment in my heart with my beloved, 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 in just this breath, in this moment in my heart with my beloved, in just this breath, in this moment in my heart with my beloved, 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 in my heart, my beloved, in my heart. It's much more important to stay in your heart with your beloved than trying to listen with your mind to what is being said this morning. We want to cloister that mind in our heart and keep it there forever, so that the only one living in our heart is that one beloved, because we are him. And why wouldn't we let the one who is the only reality totally live our lives? I think we might have a little problem with that overall, don't you? So hand over everything you are to your beloved heart and the one who you are one with. And so it is. Amen. I want to start just with something that is in my co-authorship with Darren, a book called Lessons from the Afterlife or a Happy Life, Spiritual Secrets from the World's Religions and Those Who Have Cheated Death. This is chapter 3. Actually, it's one of my favorite chapters in this book. The title of this chapter, chapter 3, is The Breath of Life. We have a quote from the Upanishads. You know, the Upanishads, all the systems Sankhya, every spiritual tradition in India, its essence is the Bhagavad Gita. I hope to get to that quote today. All right. So you're right at the heart of what really matters, my friends. Thank you for being online, and thank you for being you. Because if I were you, and I am, and really I only say that because God is me and God is you, and so therefore we are absolutely one, soul to soul. So thank you. And Benny's on. God bless you, my friend. God bless you. God bless you and yours and our world. And good morning to Rainbow Brook. God bless you. So we start with this little quote from the Upanishads at the top of the chapter. Just as a bird tied by a string flies off in all directions, and on not reaching any other place to stay, returns to where it is tied. In the very same way, my dear boy, the mind flies off in all directions and, on not reaching any other place to stay, returns to the breath. For the mind, dear boy, is tied to the breath. And if we're not careful, we let our mind or let our breath be tied to the mind, a restless mind, a worried mind, a thinking mind, a mind that thinks it knows something. That manas mind, the one that's given us all the trouble in River City, but that's how we grow. That's how we learn to find that we have wings to fly and rise above the stream duality, right? And then we have this quote from Genesis. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground. He formed man and woman from the, well, I guess he formed man and then out of the, and then to the woman. I don't know. Don't go there. Then the Lord God formed a man, it says in Genesis, from the dust, and a woman. Let's say, I'll put that in. From the dust of the ground, and breathe into his and her nostrils. I wonder if you could observe the air coming into your nostrils right now if your mouth is closed. Could this be a Genesis breath? That's what we call it in this book, Genesis breathing. The first breath that you ever received is now, in this breath, coming from the Lord himself, the transcendental Lord. And breathe into our nostrils, and breathe into man and woman's nostrils the breath of life, and the man and woman became a living being. Totally source. This is what we call in this book sourcing source. If every inhale breath. You know, life needs to be more and more like a Japanese tea ceremony. Where everything is just total mindfulness, total just there's no place to go, there's nothing else to do, there's nothing else to think about, there's nothing else to talk about. There's just this present moment of the sacredness of life and everything they did in that ceremony. And if we rush around again today, it's impossible that any of the wisdom we're going to hear today will be in your heart. Impossible. Your heart needs to be the container and the absorber and the experiencer of each breath, sourcing the light, the love, the peace, the joy, the happiness, or the transcendental, formless, infinite spirit itself alone, nothing else going on. And we're in just this breath in this moment in my heart with my beloved. So we go on actually in a couple pages to say these words. This is a heavy line, but it's probably won't even ever be discussed because it's just in the middle of a paragraph. Forgetting the simple act of conscious devotional breathing. We call it conscious devotional breathing. Forgetting the simple act of conscious devotional breathing. And then our song, in just this breath, in this moment, in my heart with my beloved. You have to have all those things going on. That's devotional breathing. Forgetting the simple act of a breath coming in and being aware of it, conscious devotional breathing is the greatest curse. It's the greatest curse. Forgetfulness of God is the greatest curse. But if our breath is tied to our mind and our mind is tied to our breath and our mind is on anything and we're not with God, that's one of the deadly sins. That's the greatest curse. Why? This is what we wrote. Because it severs your lifeline to inspiration itself. What is inspiration? It is literally the breath of life breathed into you by God. If you don't have this little book, you can get it on Amazon. I do believe it's still there. And there's a lot of good stuff in here. There's a lot of good stuff in this book. Like I just read you. And then this NDE quote that came a little bit down, next paragraph or so, this chapter 3. Everyone, says this NDE person, M. Benedict, everyone has an unfettered connection to source, to truth. This was his experience on the other side. Everyone can access it if they have the proper will. There are many ways to get there, to this connection to source and truth. It is as natural as breathing. As natural as breathing. Just this breath. See if we can come now, just do a little tea ceremony when we come online here and show up for loving. We're going to have a daily dose of divinity to read you about that, whether we get to it today or not. But isn't it what we always talk about? Clear the decks, my friends, clear it. The first words to Krishna in chapter 2. After all those excuses in chapter 1, and even some more in chapter 2 beginning, was to say, you are lamenting about something that doesn't need to be lamented. You are grieving about something that doesn't need to be grieved. And then he goes on to say, you must not focus on this outside world. And that little section there, when he was saying this in that verse, was called the transcendental nature of our soul, our transcendental nature of who we really are. Soul. All right. There are many ways to experience this connection to source. It is as natural as breathing, as natural as basking in sunlight at midday. What this world needs right now is a recognition and acceptance of the fact that we all have that direct connection. And it's right here, right now. My dear soul rebel brothers and sisters. Because that leads us to where we left off last week. The emperor. Remember, we talked a lot about last week's stream was something. I listened to it a couple times anyway. And I want to be Chitrananda, Chitraratha, whatever, concentrated in my heart on the chariot of divine perception. What is the chariot? It's the divine perception, but concentrate in my heart one breath at a time, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I am, because if I'm not in the present moment, I cannot experience God at all. At all. You cannot have peace at all. At all. So come on, do one little thing. I mean the littlest things with the greatest love you have in you now, okay? Like a sacred ceremony, because hello, everything is sacred. Everything. And we talked about, the one, that Chittaratha, and going up there and taking that ride up the spine for that divine devotion of the star lotus and the innumerable rays of the bliss nectar. And then at the end, we talked about the emperor. And God's almightiness is obviously more reflected in powerful leaders than in weak men, but there's further significance in the Lord's declaring himself in emperors among men and women. When a man's ego is identified with his senses, he is spoken of as a slave. And that breath that's tied to the mind, that's why the mind's got to be tranquil inside the heart. And then, guess what? Your breath is going to be the thing, the right thing. It's the good thing, where you can experience finally this presence that's always with you. Joy, 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 ever new joy. But when through yoga he ascends the throne of superconscious bliss, he is a supreme ruler of his bodily kingdom. In the kingly yogi and yogini, God is more manifest than in a slave. Wisdom is the vehicle of the yogi who has conquered his senses. Then we went on to talk about, but that was about Indra. All right. So, but in all my diving into Gita as my only thing, my first love, I want to read to you then. This is chapter 2, way back, verse 34, book 1. And I came upon this that ties in with the emperor, which is this cerebrum, the return of Queen Soul and King Soul, right? Where the 1,000-petal lotus, where we're Japanese tea sipping the nectar, the amrit. Here, that's why we're empress and empresses and emperors. Returned home. Yogananda says, verse 33, page 236, volume 1. Every spiritual devotee who regularly and deeply meditates realizes that he and she is the emperor of a kingdom of peace. Empress of a kingdom of peace. That's your true nature, girls and boys. And that's worth it. Have a smile all day, isn't it? You are an empress and an emperor of peace. When you can, just turn within and stay within, anchor within, and make home in your heart, which he himself has won by battling the forces of restlessness. But before the empire has been fully secured, even a veteran warrior or warrioress will find that he or she is subject to manifold outer and inner influences that strive to usurp the glorious realm. on such occasions, just in case you get distracted today. On such occasions, the spiritual conqueror must advance boldly. And remember, we had a little section last week where we talked about how love conquers. It means we get back into this heart and we will to love, and we keep loving until we have that tranquility of the heart. And then it doesn't matter whatever it was that we thought was a problem. We don't even care what the results are. We're home. Any near-death experience, any and all, we'll talk about. This is home. The light is the home. This presence I'm with is home. Did I have another? For example, let me just go back. Here's another one from my book, our book. I felt and experienced all of creation from the perspective of God. This other person experienced on the other side, and we can experience on this side, 100%. I felt and experienced all of creation from the perspective of God. I was outside. God glasses. All we talk about is God glasses in this book, right? And all we talk about in Gita is that God is the divine indweller in our heart space. And that's the only place that we put our attention. That's the Chittaratra, you know? I won't put on some ochre and just be Chitrananda. You too. In your imagination. What mythological hero do you want to be? What is your goddess like? What is your warrior masculine like, you know? I was outside of space and time. It was such a feeling of raised joy I was in. Slowly, a great presence formed in front of me, which is the most ultimate of holiness, emanating extraordinary brilliance. This great presence is the heart of all of everything. This great presence that's with us now, just this breath, in my heart with my beloved. In this moment, in my heart with my beloved. As God breathes in, first breath, Genesis breath, first originating breath. Go back to the every waiting, as if you're waiting for the most beautiful breath ever to come in. That is the Genesis breath, the original breath. That is God breathing into you. And it can happen many, many times today. Each one putting you in a state of a great presence formed in front of me, which is the most ultimate of holiness, emanating extraordinary brilliance. This great presence is the heart of all of everything. We are ignorant children by comparison. I put my arms out and tried to fly and saw that there were rainbows of colors, rainbow. I was a rainbow being, rainbow. I was made of light and color. I realized it. If I will it, I can fly to that great presence and unite with the purity of all that is. If I will it, I can fly to that great presence and unite with the purity of all that is, was, and ever shall be. Oh, we can in an instant today. In an instant. All the guru, just wait. I'm telling you, remember I said, always be waiting. The most and without expectation, but with great anticipation that it is absolutely going to happen, the Guru to touch you here. And we read about what happened to Yogananda last week. You have the divine experience. I can fly to the great presence and unite with the purity of all that is, was, and ever shall be. That was my heart's longing. My heart's longing. Is it ours? Is it ours? I'm telling you, it's more important for you to even if not, start longing on the stream, because this ain't going to stick. As inspiring as it can be today, unless you are now in the heart, having God in you in a little reunion in the heart right now, that will stick. That will stick. And so will this wisdom. That was my heart's longing, to be one with the great presence. But there is going to be some occasions the spiritual conqueror must advance boldly. Any devotee who refuses to engage himself in a righteous conflict with the suddenly invading soldiers of disquietude and unmeditated moods will lose the strenuously gained honorable, enviable, and unending joy of the soul. If we don't come right back, like the bird that's tied to the string, realize it can't have any place else to land. It's on a string, so it goes back to the string. When our breath is the breath of the beloved, we come right back. At a moment you find yourself in a mood, at the moment you find the invading soldiers of disquietude about ready to try to destroy, or as I put up this quote up there by Papa G on my website, you just got to go there sometime, man. Everything's there. You could spend. That could be your first major diversion. You get home from work, or sometime that evening. But he said, it is the mind's business to make sure you stray as far away from your soul as possible. That's your mind's business, the manas mind. That's what it does. So we just become conquerors, love conquerors, by just getting back into our heart, loving more. This is why suffering really is the greatest prod to remembrance of God. As I put up that quote from, who did I put that one up there? From Padre Pio. I love my because everything is just spiritual or animals or great stuff that I go to Facebook on. I don't do anything else. So all the things that because they dial in and start sending you the stuff that you're focused on. I can have ecstasy from the stuff that comes to me on my line. See, look at this duality that we live in here. Isn't that something? So what did he say? He said, Blessed is the crisis that made you grow, the fall that made you gaze up to heaven, the problem that made you look for God, the bummer you feel today. This is the greatest blessing. The lack of feeling understood today is your greatest blessing. This really staunch, tenacious, bad habit that we're still sometimes engaging in is your greatest blessing, because it's going to make you suffer so bad that we finally decide, hey, maybe Krishna is right. Maybe he's asking me to refrain from being involved in any kind of viewing this outer world as a reality, and that I am this transcendental immortal soul. Maybe that will just come in today, because I don't think we can think that we have tomorrow. Our greatest delusion, says Lord Buddha, right? It's our greatest delusion. So we have it today, everything we're talking about right now. And I go back and I listen to the streams, number 93, actually, when he's talking about these first words of Krishna to Arjuna after Arjuna finally, he surrendered passively. He had all those excuses for verse after verse. He surrendered passively, and then finally he got it. And he surrendered, and the light of God came upon him, and the voice of God came upon him, and everything like that. I have those lines today, but we probably won't get to them. But I'm just saying, why? If he's us. We are all united together as one. These NDEs, they go across, and all their relatives from all their past lives are just standing in the background. Now, how is that possible? And their dogs, too. Everything is there. The kids that they lost, if they lost kids or had one of those so-called tragedies, which on the surface is a tragedy, but in God's eye, don't grieve for it, Krishna said. Don't grieve that they're alive, more alive than you are right now. So grieve, but get over it really quickly, right? But how is it possible that all those relatives are there? It's because we're all one right now. So that's why it's That's why it's so important that you have your heart filled with love so you can start feeling like all hearts are in your heart so you can lift this world just by loving, because we're all one. You got it? Oh my God. The yogi who strives scientifically to unite his soul with spirit through Buddha-given techniques of meditation realizes that the greatest dharma or protective virtue of the soul is ever new joy. What? The greatest dharma or protective virtue of your soul? You could add this to be, this is your armor, is ever new joy. The religion of the soul consists in the manifestation. The religion of the soul consists in the manifestation of this true spiritual happiness gained by constant efforts of deep meditation. After having earned this soul joy by waging many wars with restlessness, the devotee should be perpetually vigilant. That's where we are. We need special time now. We do. We do. I'm telling you, I go back and I listen and I listen, and I, especially this number 93, I just can't listen to it enough, because it's the most important instructions I need to hear right now, because I'm not going to put it off. And you think and what I'm saying is we're all the same. We're all the same. I know you guys can't put it off, even if your mind doesn't think so. Right? I mean, that you can put it off. That your mind's going to make you believe you can't, because that's the business of the mind, to get you as far away from truth as possible. So we have to sometimes now make a final commitment, a final surrender, not a passive surrender, but complete resignation of our will to divine will. This is all in these early verses after finally Arjuna in us surrendered for good, actively. I'm ready, Lord. Like they do it if you guys have been in AA, you know that, right? This is delusion, Hollickville, man. So let's get busy. I want to hear from you. It's getting too crazy, don't you think? Don't you think you've kind of heard enough but not experienced much? What I'm saying. This soul joy. But now we have to be perpetually vigilant, never jeopardizing our joyful kingdom by becoming careless and negative during the invasion of cosmic delusion through the channels of sense disturbances. Yeah, ignorance is the greatest sin because it eclipses that divine self and produces the limitation of the ego or bodily consciousness. The root cause of our threefold sorrow of man. But that is just a boomerang to get us back on track again. So it is all God. Remember, this is why we're doing all these manifestations of Him. The downward flowing current is God, the upward flowing, so it's all God. So when you decide that you're only going to focus on one thing and have one heart's desire, one heart longing, that you're going to be with God in this moment, because He is you right here, right now. And He's in the loved ones of yours too. He's in your pets too. My Pyrenees doodle, they're the most affectionate. The Pyrenees are the most affectionate animal dogs I probably on the planet. And she slept with me last night, like she usually does, next to me. And she goes and lays on her back and she starts snoring. But I'm petting her. But I'm laying next to God. Your wife, husband, you're laying by yourself. You're God. Everyone, everything is a soul now, not a person. Well, we have to, deadly sin is to see people as people. That's another deadly sin. I've been talked about that a little bit last week. I mentioned it, I think. But I'm saying that we have some, well, I used to call them DDSs, deep dark secrets that are still there, and they pop up. But now we've got to really be not only love blasters, but this love blaster turns into a sniper, a love sniper. We got to take care of that thing on the spot, kids, and keep going. Love conquers all. Love, love, love. Love blast it. Love blast it. Just take care of it now. Take care of it now. It will come back to haunt you when it's time to leave the body. It's probably haunting you now. We got to take care of it. We got to just find out. We got to brush them out from the bushes, right? We've got to be knowing they're coming, because the higher you go in joy, the more you're going to be ambushed by all of these things. So you could have some good sniper practice, right? But we got to take care of these, what DD, deep dark secrets, or deadly sins. I just think that the Christians use that, the 7 deadly sins. I love it. But now I'm spotting some of them in myself that pop up just unconsciously for no reason, just a little something, boom. And I, just sometimes, I just been brushing them off, Now they've got to be destroyed. They've got to be destroyed. We've got to be perpetually vigilant. So this is what Yogananda says about. This is what Yogananda says, a little thing about happiness to show you. Here's what Yogananda says. The pure happiness I find in communion with the Lord cannot be described in words. Day and night, I'm in a state of joy. This joy is God. To know him is to perform the funeral rite of all sorrows, all worries, all procrastinations, the funeral ceremony of all of that stuff. To know him is to perform the funeral rites of all those things I just mentioned. He says sorrows. He doesn't require you to be stoic, Jim Clark, stoic and melancholic. This is not the right view of God nor the way to please him. If you are not happy, you will not even be able to find him. Oops. If you're not happy, you won't even be able to find him. Right? So if nothing else, we got to come here with put our happy coats on, our happy hats on. If you are not happy, you will not even be able to find him. The happier you are, the greater your harmony with him. The closer he is. Yogananda said, those who think me near, I will be near. Those who fill with joy, I am near. I am in them. I am that joy. Those who know him are always happy because God is joy himself. Okay. Now, I think I better go over to our lesson for today right now, because this is so vast and every verse has truth tentacles, so to speak, truth connections with all the other verses, because truth is one. We are one. It's the same with what's happening in our world. It seems so separate, right? It seems so divided. You can use any word you want, but we are still all connected. That is why, of all the things that you want to see different out there, we got to start get our sniper blaster out and start taking care of those DDSs that still think that that's bad. That's wrong. Could you? Would you? I'm having a love blast. Could you? Would you? Would you too? I'm having a love blast. Could you? Would you? Would you too? Something like that, right? I'm having a love blast. Would you? Could you? Would you too? Come on, babe. You know that song? Little ditty song. I think it goes like this for people. Oh, he's just. In fact, they say it all, and it said it a lot. Like if you stop smiling, man, maybe I'd listen to you. I'd follow you if you weren't so happy. Okay, so let's look at verse 28 then. Since I just wanted to just put a little something, a little capper, but it's not a capper, it's just the beginning of, we talked about an emperor and King Sol and everything. Oh, isn't that nice? An empress and an emperor. But come on, to every time you decide you're going to go a little deeper, you can count on the enemy up in its game on you. All right. Till the end. Till the end. And if you're just kind of, you know, letting that bird fly off, break from its strings, so you can't even bring it back and do its little thing in the world, taking care of everything, get, all these traumas and dramas, right? It's going to be really difficult to make use of anything that you've ever heard about wisdom. I've got to just surrender. If your love letters are true to God, I will surrender who you keep saying I am. Still one of my very favorite quotes of all time. So here we go, verse 28. Among weapons, I am the thunderbolt. This is page 791, verse 28. Of bovines, I am Kamaduk, the celestial cow that fulfills all desires. God, this wisdom thing is so great. Wisdom. The symbol of wisdom is used throughout this Gita. Wisdom is everything. There is no light that can come into you without the wisdom, the truth wisdom, because otherwise your consciousness isn't ready to see the light, feel the light, even want really the light. The wisdom has to be your most precious commodity, most precious jewels that maybe you wear around your neck invisibly, or a necklace, whatever. Wisdom is everything. So Kamaduk is also representing this wisdom, this divine wisdom. I'm Kamaduk, the celestial cow that fulfills all desires, and so does wisdom, because it's going to eventually lead you to this absolute complete resignation of your will to God's will, so that you don't fly off. You have home now. Don't leave it. Establish yourself. Just let's go on a special mission, you and I. We'll just look at the final excuses of Arjuna at the end of chapter 1 and early chapter 2, and then start to listen to exactly the advice that's coming down from Krishna. This is the best of the East coming down. That's what I've done. That's why I've had to listen to it so much. I go, wow, that's so intense. But I and we're just going to decide, what would it be like to pattern your life after truth and wisdom? What would it be like? Just saying. And then this one, Kardapa. You want to hear about Kandarpa? Kandapa, the personified creative consciousness, the cause of childbirth. We'll get a little more into it. And then finally, I am Vasuku, among serpents. Cool, huh? Vasuku. So symbolically in this verse, Master goes on to say the tremendously powerful thunderbolt with its display of light and sound is the cosmic creative vibration of all. See, everything is there's just three things, really. There's the creator that comes in with the Om and the light and everything. There is Vishnu that preserves everything beautiful and powerful, then Shiva, which destroys it. That's it, everything. All these things. In fact, and those three come from Mahaprakriti, and Mahaprakriti is just God's consort. So it all comes from God, and God isn't the God that you think it is. Because now I'm reading this book, The Power of Myth. And in the mail, coming to me in a couple of days, is the hero that, I don't know why I never read it, the hero that with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. I have some to read from him this morning too. And I don't care about time. We'll end somewhere. But this stuff is too good and too important for us not to be here and just enjoying this breath of life coming in, this breath of joy. Whatever you decide, that's what it is. God is going to be anything you want him to be. That's why you cannot even begin to describe God as God or what you think is God, because it's not. It's just, it's that everything is the love. Everything is one. There's no more questions need to be asked. Okay? There's no more nothing. You are satisfied with the first sip of that Amrit. You're satisfied for forever. And everything you go, oh, now I understand. Oh, now I understand. But we need to get ready to even consider getting up that spine a little higher and not falling off the wagon. You know what I'm saying, kids? Come on. We need you. Where was I? What was I going to read? What was I going to read? Oh no, what was I going to read from here? Oh, okay, I forgot. I forgot. Oh, I forget what I was going to read from here. Don't matter. It'll come back. It will come back unless some of you want to type it in. Can you email us a recommended book? Come on, Vinny. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Go back and listen to the Gita streams. Number one. Number two, check out my latest thing is Joseph Campbell here with the 1,000 Faces, okay, or the Power of Myth or something, okay. Other than that, I don't read, man. I don't want to read anything other than something that ties me to the truth, the absolute truth, and maybe get my lessons from the afterlife for a happy life. Because I had a lot to say in there, and so did Professor Yamarino. He had a lot to say too. He's the one that came up with all those great quotes from all the religions. It's a good book. It's a really good book. And I came up with the NDE quotes. And some of you'll know some of my language in there too. But anyway, first thing, go back and come on. You can't just, if you, this, there's no way. You can't just listen to truth once. You know why? Because you're different every day. You're at a different vibrational frequency, right? And so you'll pick up things, and especially if you come with a really open heart and you really want to learn, like we started this morning, it was all about the experiencing God right now in this just moment, in this breath in my heart with my beloved, right? You do that, you're going to pick up something. I swear I've gone back and back and back, and every time I listen, it's brand new. It's brand new. But it's not brand new. It's what it is. But I have more receptivity. I can experience it more now. You see? So you see? It's brand new. Truth is ever new. Okay, I know. I read to you Yogananda's thing on happiness, right? Right? I read that. I think I did read that. Yeah. I'm pure happiness. I find communion with the Lord. Yeah, because God is joy itself. Okay. Scriptures. Oh, thunder. Yeah. It often mentions scripture as the speaking through thunder. And then that is in the Psalms, the voice of the Lord is upon the waters, the God of glory thundereth. It's amazing these myths of truth that have been carried through all the way back to the Bible, all the way back to the Upanishads, right? And the essence for it's the yogi's Bible is the Bhagavad Gita. And it's the essence of all of India. And then you get your other Bible and you can go back to Psalms here. The voice of the Lord is upon the waters. The God of glory thundereth. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. Om, 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 om. The Lord's first expression in matter, Yogananda goes on to comment on page 792, is the word or cosmic vibration. The word. The word. You know what's the second thing? Besides the Lamentations, then you know what Krishna got in? He says, but Arjuna, you can say some things that have some wisdom in there, but your actions aren't in line. He starts talking about hypocrisy right there. And this thing, second thing that he wanted to bring up to Arjuna. So when we hear this word, or we chant Om, it's kind of like a sniper in itself. It's starting to clean up how we need to live impeccably according to our word. Our word is everything. Like it used to be, the old handshake was everything. You didn't need a contract. You didn't need a prenup, right? It's my word. It's my word. That's one thing in the ashram that I really, really worked on. Because whatever you say, if you say to somebody you're going to do something and you don't do it, you've got to let them know. Otherwise, your word is pure gold. Reliability is worth a pound of brains. You can rely on that person. So when we hear the word Om now, just start picking off anything that's out of in alignment with your thoughts and your action. Now we're talking truth to living it. Big time. You know what I'm saying? It is this cosmic thunder. Listen, that is both the creator and destroyer. So it's Brahma and Shiva. This thunder, it creates and it dissolves, right? Then Yogananda has a parenthesis, weapon. Wow, that thunder is both creator and destroyer, weapon. It's a weapon used against delusive matter. Because if you think this world is real, that's why he says you cannot lament anymore. You cannot see and view this outer world as real. It is a foul delusion of restless life. Anything restless is our enemy, big time, big time. So, as cosmic energy is the macrocosm of the universe, and as prana is the microcosm in the human body, cosmic energy, and then the prana that exists, you and me, that's coming through in the oxygen molecule that we breathe, is prana of the human body. Mastery of this formidable power is the yogi's best weapon against delusion. That's all that's going to be said about the thunderbolt, the Om, right here in that short paragraph. Wow, there's a world of stuff we could consider practicing just from here in that one little paragraph. Let the prana come in. Well, that's why we started with the breath this morning, the breath of prana, pure prana coming in, pure from the microcosm of the cosmic energy, or the nectar, Amrit, coming in with this breath, with this breath. It's all God. It's with you. It can't be any other way. It's so simple, right? It's so powerful. It's so beautiful. Wow. Our best weapon. But listen, there's another thing to prana. When you're not in integrity, you're losing prana. Why are we so exhausted these days? Why are we getting this and that diseases and everything? Because we're wasting our prana on being caught up in this variety show of the foul delusion of restless life. You see? Do you see why we have to sniper down those deep dark secrets or deadly sins that we still, I mean, this one struck me the other day, like, man, I never knew it. You don't know it. Remember, the business of the mind is to get you so far away from the truth of you. So we believe in any kind of, mostly very limited stuff, man, delusive stuff. This is why I'm saying, rebels, we started something here. We started something here that's bigger than big. Speak to me. Let me know. We're in this together. I'm you. You are me. But listen, we can't waste prana anymore. because it's so important. If it's the best weapon that we have in our, against delusion, to waste it is to give it, hand over our our keys to the kingdom to the devil himself. So that's all tied together, isn't it? Now listen, here's Kamaduk. Here's Kamaduk. I'll do a little bit on Kamaduk, but I want you really to, if you have the book and read this over and over, I tell you, until you get it, until something hits you. Otherwise, yeah, you might be planting some seeds, but if you're not watering those seeds, they may not sprout. It's still okay to come in and just listen, but don't do it the old way. Nothing is the old way. You're the creative power of spirit, for God's sake. God is in you too. Why don't you let him help you? Help God help you, was what I read from Yogananda last one. It's like from that thing with Cruz in it. He was an agent for a football star. Help me to help you. Yogananda used that line, help God to help you. All right? You got God's power ready to be activated. You're ready to be activated. We're always ready to be activated. Are we? Are we? Okay, Kamaduk. Kamaduk. The desire-fulfilling celestial milch cow. The all desire-fulfilling celestial milch cow was cited in chapter 3, verse 10 as symbolic of divine wisdom. There we go again. Wisdom. 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 We got to carry wisdom. We got to love the wisdom, the light of wisdom. Then comes the light. First comes the wisdom, the one where you accept, where you are not going to deviate from, where you're not going to be a hypocrite about. You could say some things about wisdom, but come on, better to zip it than give anyone advice that you're not absolutely 100% following. 100%. Or you just think about, but you don't ever really get down and do the work. Maybe you haven't suffered enough. Maybe you haven't gone to the abyss, as Joseph Campbell says, to the abyss. That's where all the soul heroes and mythological things that he talks about, they have to go. They have to be in the abyss. When alcohol brings me to my knees, that's the place I need to be. When it takes me to my knees, that's the greatest place that I need to be. It says in the AA program. The nourishment of this divine wisdom, which satisfies all hungers of physical, mental, and spiritual longings. Christ spoke similarly of this principle when he said, and we'll just end here and I'll read you a few quotes in closing from Campbell. Whosoever drinketh, see, even in the Bible, everything is God now. Someone from a drunk on the street that comes up to you and bumps into you and maybe says something, could be God speaking. Well, he is God speaking. And there could be a message for you. And if you were wide awake and walking with God, as a Japanese tea ceremony, just, Thich Nhat Hanh style, just like really slow. And each foot is kissing the ground, is kissing God. That's how he did his walking meditations, right? We want to go through life like that now. And you will hear from anybody and everybody the message you need to hear. I am getting things that come in through the Facebook thing that, my God, that's perfect for me. Thank you, God. It's all God. It's the pronoia. Everything is conspiring to support you now, 100%. Now it's just, there's one thing left. Is, are you going to be passively surrendered like Arjuna was, or are you going to be actively surrendered? And that's verse 92. That's verse 92 where he does that. Okay, so I want to go through that. I'm going to just finish up here. So we're going to learn more about the Kamaduk, because that's coming. Let me finish this quote. Whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. Whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him, there's the water. There is the innumerable rays of the amrit nectar. You drink it through the breath. You get me? Are you getting me? And it will be a well of water springing up into everlasting life. I've decided, I've never been a good water drinker, but now it's absolutely imperative. So I have a good little big bottle and I sit there and I do this quote. I do this quote, I drinketh of the water that I will never have to thirst again. And I'm drinking this water. And it'll be a well of water springing up into everlasting life. God, when you include wisdom in your everyday, mundane, in this world of just the utter distraction, you are going to be in bliss. When you have now tied that mind to this Chittaratha heart that's concentrated on divine perception. So Trish had this book laying by her bedside, but I kept telling you that we're doing all these things. The milk cow that fulfill all your desires, that tell me that isn't mythology, right? And what would you say is a good definition of myth? I wrote that down, and I'm going to read you something. If you don't mind, stick in here if you can. This and that can wait, but whatever you're going to do, if you have to, go do it, but do it go slow. Don't rush. Be in the wisdom. Hold something from this dream. It's so huge now, okay? Primarily, it's involving supernatural beings or events. On the most basic level, a myth explains a phenomena, tradition, place, name, or elevates a past event to epic and even supernatural significance, and most importantly, provides a role model for one's individual journey through life. That's what Joseph Campbell did, because it involves typically supernatural beings or events. Okay? So this guy is unreal. He is unreal. So the first thing I want to read you, because this is a book, he's being interviewed. So it's going back and forth between the interview. But he says that he even studied Sanskrit. He even learned Sanskrit, this guy, Joseph Campbell. So he continues to collect most recent stories which he adds to the wisdom of the ancient. One story especially told of a troubled woman who came to the Indian saint and said, sage Ramakrishna, who Yogananda just loved, saying, "Oh, Master, I do not find that I love God." And he asked, "Is there nothing then that you love?" To this she answered, "My little nephew." And he said to her, "There is your love and service to God in your love and service to that child." That's why I pet my dogs now. I know it's Divine Mother. I know it. I know it's Divine Mother. That's why the dogs show up. They're up there. These NDEs. They're there too. They don't go touching though. Usually they don't touch. That's because it's in consciousness. God's dreaming this whole thing. It's God's consciousness. God is dreaming the corporeal body of yours. Now let's dream of God, huh? But he's not the thoughts that you think. He's beyond, way beyond. Just intuitive imagination, time to go wild. So that's why you can, and your children now, I don't care what age they are or whatever's happening, they're not the children, they're God's children. I wanted to read some of that today. But God gave you those children. He gave you your animals. He gave you you. Now help God to help you see them as who they really are. That is so huge, because you'll be grieving. You'll be crying. No one prepares for the things that are going to happen. the changing, the story of life. The end is a dead end. You'll be dead at the end. No one prepares for it, but we've got to, I would think. I would think. Okay, so let me just go to another place. Man, this is what Campbell says. People say that what we're all seeking is meaning of life. I don't think that is really what we're seeking. I think that what we're seeking is experience of being alive. Yogananda calls us in the Manas mind mentality the walking dead. So what is it to be alive? It's what we're up to. It's what we're being advised. God is helping us to understand. Wisdom is the ultimate. It's the thing that will get you out of suffering. Otherwise, suffer. But someday you will come to this point. But don't wait. That's what Yogananda said. This and that wait. Search for God cannot. I think that what we're seeking experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances within our own innermost being and reality, that our everyday purely physical plane of life and the details, petting a dog, doing an errand, doing the dishes, will have the innermost being and reality. The tea ceremony, your mind never deviates from that, beloved, right? So that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. That's what it's all finally about. The rapture of being alive. That's why Yogananda says, don't ever lose your joy. Right? It's a rapture, right? That's why I've always enjoyed. That's why I know the resistance comes up. I know it. I got my demons. Don't worry. But I've learned to know that the greatest cure for demons is joy. Get back on the wagon. That's why it's all finally about. And that's why these clues, these myths help us to find within ourselves. These myths, okay? Then he starts talking about marriage. Oh my God. Marriage. What is marriage? The myth tells you what it is. It's the reunion of a separated duad, the union of two. Originally, you were one. You are now two. In the recognition of the spiritual identity is what marriage is. It is different from a love affair. It has nothing to do with that. That's another mythological plane of experience. When people get married, they think it's a long-term love affair. They'll be divorced very soon because all love affairs end in disappointment. But marriage is a recognition of the spiritual identity. See your wife now as a soul. See your husband as a soul. And don't take your mind off of anything else. In other words, that mind that has run off is going to have you talking endlessly about the limitations of each. Why? Why do that anymore? Get into your soul. Get into your alignment. Love, love, love. I had 4 daily doses of divinity here to read to you about love in your heart, love in your heart. I want to share those with you too. We want them to just contact me. But listen, we got to love and see them as they are, and everyone else that's a deadly sin. When you see a human as a human, that's a deadly sin. Just like you not focusing on this breath is a curse. Not focusing on the genesis of this breath. God is breathing me. Bliss is coming into me. His presence is coming into me, right? And then I had a great section that Master talks about, exact same thing. When you make a sacrifice in marriage, you're sacrificing not to each other, but to the unity of the oneness that we are already in. The Chinese image of the Tao with the dark and light interacting, that's the relationship of yang and yin, male and female, which is what marriage is. And that's what you have become when you have married. You're no longer this one alone. Your identity is in relationship, in the identity of who you both are as one. Marriage is not a simple love affair. It's an ordeal, and the ordeal is a sacrifice of the ego to a relationship in which two have become one. That's a sampling of Joseph Campbell. You're welcome, Vinny. You're welcome. But he said thanks anyway. All right. I love you all more than ever. Rejoice. Stay happy today. Listen again when you see this book up on my Facebook uh, Gita page. Again and again and again until something absolutely changes you to a higher frequency. Okay? We have a kind of a new beginning, ever new. Love you. Love you. God bless us all.